Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies and citizens, this joy to the world. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies and citizens, this joy to the world. I bring a message of the truth amidst a world full of lies. I graduated from learning lies to seek the truth. Indoctrinated to be too blind to see the proof. I once was lost, but now I'm found, so I shine light. And everywhere I go is darkness, so I shine bright.
We are back at it with a fully automatic to cut through the static. Once again, it is Uncommon Ground, and I am West Blaze Music, if you like. And otherwise, we are joined here today by my good friend, my co-host, Sean Griffin. You doing all right, brother?
I'm doing great. This is going to be a fun episode. We got an incredible music guest this week, so I'm excited, Wes.
It is. I don't have any further raps to open the show with because the musical talent of the guests that we're going to have on today just so overshadows anything that I could bring to the table. I don't want to even try to steal anybody's thunder because this guy has got it all together, and we are excited to present his testimony today for the first time that I've gotten to hear, and we're going to play some of his music, and it's just going to be a great time. I'm really super stoked about this episode, and I have been for a while.
Yeah, me too. He's a good brother, and he's very talented. The Father's truly blessed him, so far more talented than I.
100%. Thank you for everybody joining us. Glad to have you today. I know a lot of y'all were looking forward to our guest's appearance as well, but probably not more than me.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, also, we just wanted to let people know, in case you missed it last week, you know, we uploaded some new extra bonus footage of our content from our Firmament project onto our Patreon. So, you guys, if y'all want to see the behind the scenes, us working with our brothers, Nick and Eric, and one of them's an engineer. He's good with CAD. He can do the actual 3D modeling, and the other one's an actual builder. So he's working with the materials. And we just sent him some of our first materials that we got last. I think he should have got it on Thursday or Friday. The first round of materials he can actually start working with to start literally putting this thing together. So this is what we're calling our Firmament project. If you guys want to help us get this to completion, if you want to help support us, that's what our Patreon is all about. Go see the video, the links in the video description below, and also you can see that bonus footage as well.
Yeah, that was a really fun conversation too. That alone is worth the Patreon, I would say, just to be able to get to see like this model that you're looking at on Sean's background right here is the courtesy of Mr. Eric, who's put that together with some amazing software. He does like a virtual tour through it real quick so you can see inside of it. It's amazing stuff, and I'm really excited to see how it comes together because we're working on it, guys.
Yep. Yeah, it's coming together. It's just we'd love to have it done by the time we go to our Take on the World conference, but I doubt that's going to happen, honestly. So, but we're going to have more. For my estimation, we'll probably have some good update visuals to show by that time as well. So we're excited. Wes, that's only 6 weeks away.
I know. Yeah,
We'll
they just made a
Take
post
on the World
yesterday.
conference.
They
crazy.
said 40 days away. It's coming up quick. Got to get on
crazy. It's going to be exciting.
It.
Also, we just, that was a huge from Chris and Liz Bailey. That was a huge compliment to us, and they enjoyed our show. They think that what we're doing is beneficial to people, and we've been getting also a lot of people writing us in other ways, to compliment us, to say that we've been helping them out, and that's just some of the things I wanted to show. We just wanted to say thank you to people like Cindy K. Snavely. She said, this was from last week's episode, Wes, when we talked about Satellites and Settaloons. She said, the dessert at the end was tasty, although this mix of his truth and y'all's brains make it like fine dining with his music too, table for two. So I think you inspired her to rap a little bit with her comment, her loving comment.
Cindy is Mrs. Dr. Seuss, man, always with the rhymes, and I love it. She's so good-hearted and good-spirited. It's great. Thank you, Ms.
She watches UG on a plane and on a train with green eggs and ham, whatever. She's watching it. She loves it. We appreciate Miss Cindy.
Absolutely.
So, and then
James King says, thanks for another great show. Great info, along with great music. You are appreciated, James. Much love, brother.
Sure. And Miss Winfeather, she's here every week as well. She said, yet another awesome presentation, brothers. Hallelujah. Never knew about the Satelloons until this episode. So thanks for the information. Love you, brothers. Yeah, she's great. She's here every week.
It is.
And we
And
also have,
it's always a joy to me when people let me know that we've informed them of something that they weren't aware of. That's really the big blessing to me, is getting to share the truth, share information.
that's true. Yeah. And Miss Daisy was speaking to you directly. Do you want this one?
Sure. She says, West Blaze, after a traumatic brain injury several years ago. Oh, this comment made me cry the first time I read it, bro. She said, I reached a point where I completely stopped listening to music because songs would get in my head and stay there for weeks. I've been avoiding all music for nearly 2 decades now. And then suddenly you come along, singing, rapping, speaking truth. And for the first time since 2004, I am listening to music and enjoying it. Thank you so much, brother, for sharing your talent and blessed spirit with the rest of us in this way. It is such an encouragement and joy to hear you. It also gives me great hope for those younger than I. I imagine the father nodding his head and smiling, listening to this. I got chills. Miss Daisy, that means so much to me. Because Sean, like, getting to listen to music is a joy of life, right? It can be inspiring. It can help you cope with emotions and stresses in life.
That's right.
And so for somebody to get to a point with whatever condition they've suffered, that they just can't listen to it at all because of how it affects them, and then tell me that's heartwarming. I really appreciate that, Miss Daisy. God bless you.
Music is foundational, in my understanding, to part of this creation, and we get scriptures telling us the Father Himself sings over us. So
Hallelujah.
that, to me, that's kind of beautiful.
Yes, sir.
So the point of me saying that would be that He made us to hear, receive, and be blessed by music and singing. And so, yeah, that's awesome testimony. So encouraging. Obadiah 1:4, she says, you know what's funny? I was done with FE. Not that it didn't matter, but that I exhausted this subject thoroughly and I was done with it. I'd moved on to other studies. But here I am watching all these videos. Why? Because it's something different than all the other stuff. The dynamic of you two and the new information you've brought has held my interest. I'm pleasantly surprised. Thank you, Miss Obadiah 1:4.
What a sincere comment. That was a blessing.
Yeah,
very much appreciated.
Oh, and look who else commented. I think YouTube commented as well.
Yeah, we got a comment from, a combination of YouTube fact checkers maybe in their Wikipedia article here. And they tell us, they say, and here's something I think is interesting, in their attempt to try to put a debunk warning or a sticker of, watch out for this. They also tell us that the flat earth model is an archaic conception of Earth's shape as a plane or disc. Many ancient cultures subscribe to it. What? You mean people that existed many years before us? They also believed the same as we do?
Yeah, no I thought that Eratosthenes dude in 300 BC, I thought he disproved the plane of the Earth concept. But apparently
years ago, sticks and shadows.
Even fact checkers, even the fact checkers at YouTube know the truth. And so they're trying to warn you that the truth is being spoken on this broadcast, and we're happy to do it. We are happy to do it. Also, real quick, we had a few more wonderful comments. Our brother Bob Nodell over at Glowbusters, he's watched a few of our episodes. He's been in a few of our chats, and he thinks your music is epic, West Blaze.
That lifted me up. Thank you, brother.
That's right.
Blessed.
That's right. And Way Woke, he says, this is great energy these guys put off. Thank you, Way Woke. And then would you like to read Wildly Unpopular?
Yes, please. Miss Morgan says, so thankful I started researching before censorship was too heavy on this topic. So grateful for you guys spreading the word for people who are just now searching. And we are so grateful for you. I am as well. And y'all check out Wildly Unpopular if you haven't yet. She's got a new video coming out real quick. She's putting out videos regularly. Great stuff over there. Thank you, Miss Morgan.
Yes. Well, Wes, I'm excited for this episode. Not only do we have an incredible, awesome, loyal fan base that's already attached to it. This is season 1, right? We're doing this, but this is episode 12. We've been trying to have a musical guest like every 3 episodes, and we didn't know how that was going to go over with our audience, but they seem to be loving it. We thought that would be a good little mix, right? Because we're giving you a lot of science and a lot of scripture, a lot of application, experimentation, observation. Sometimes people need a little bit of a break, right? But they still want to hear people talking about that topic from a like-minded stance. We've got one of those brothers here with us again today as our musical guest, and this is just a little bit of intro to who he is, and I'll play that now.
Yes, sir.
If you could communicate a message to mankind through the medium of music, what would that message be? I had to ask myself this question while producing Fallen Man. How can I encourage, uplift, edify, and motivate my spiritual family members with the lyrical and musical components of this craft? Most importantly, will Yahweh be glorified? Will Yeshua be exalted? One of the major themes of this record revolves around the theological concept of the Day of the Lord, the highly prophesied day of when the Creator of the heavens and the earth will send His Son once again to this earth, with power and glory, and with an enormous landmass that's referred to as the New Jerusalem. Fallen man wrestles with the reality of how dark this world can actually get when left in the hands of fallen men and spiritual adversaries. It toils with the idea of the importance of God's eternal commandments and speaks about our hope of resurrection glory, to one day be a new man, no longer stained by our previous fallen nature.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies and citizens, welcome Ken Heidebrecht to Uncommon Ground, Mr. Mountains into the Sea himself.
Hello. Thanks, guys, for having me on. I appreciate that. That's an awesome little introduction statement there, Wes Blaze. Thank you. I thought you were going to say it's joy to the world, Ken Heidebrecht.
Yes,
So glad to have
yes.
you.
That's why we're trying to promote you to the world. They need to be receiving that joy that your music brings. We need to let more people know about your music.
No, thank you. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate the extended arm to have me, your northern brother, on your incredible show, which is absolutely groundbreaking. It's earth-shattering, literally, the globe-shatteringness of it. I just love that you guys have a heart for the Father's word and want to reach those masses in a way that's appealing and unique. And I think that this show is definitely hitting those on all cylinders. And I really love the mock-up drawing that you have behind you there, Sean, that you guys want to eventually through Patreon, build this model and have like a standing, real tangible model to kind of back what the Father's been saying through His word all this time, right? I think it's incredible. I think you guys are you're definitely gonna reach audiences that many of us cannot, and so I think it's awesome. You keep doing your thing.
Very well said, brother. Thank you for the kind words. You are so appreciated. And you, as just yourself, also have a channel called Hanging on His Words. And so everything you just said about what we're doing, I feel likewise about what you've been doing with your music and that channel and every video you've put out on it. Because I make it a point to tell as many people as I can everywhere I go about the gospel of the kingdom of God. And when doing so, I try to tell them, hey, there's a couple brothers out here that are putting out some very thought-provoking, well-presented presentations that have taught me more after I've studied alongside with everything that y'all put out. They have taught me more than I've learned from all other ministries that I was learning from combined. And your channel was a huge chunk of that, Brother Ken. So I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you've put work into to present to the people so that they'll understand the consistent messages of the scriptures, because you have personally helped me to get to that point.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, man. That blesses me. Yep. I mean, every time I got a comment like that, I feel unworthy. It's like I'm just some guy who's
Same,
I've
bro.
read the scriptures and just had a heart for the Father and wanted to learn more and just press in, right? And so
yeah.
I don't appreciate the adulation. I do appreciate it. I should say I don't deserve it. So I just thanks, guys.
No worries.
Yeah,
brother.
It can make you feel strange. I remember that was kind of how we met. What you said, right? You just have a heart for the Father. You just want to press in and learn more. And you and I were those weirdos that were continually asking questions in Facebook groups, trying to figure out the scriptures, trying to learn more. This was back in what, 2014, 2015?
Yeah, I think it was 2014. Yeah.
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 And
we
then,
go back. We go back a few years, Sean, you and I.
That's right.
It's been a crazy journey of friendship thus far. And we've got channels and shows, and you've got multiple shows, and you're just going strong with it. So it's awesome.
Such a surreal experience for me, because like just watching both of you guys for 2 years straight, and then getting to hang out with you guys, rub shoulders with you. It's just I want to be able to be as good as communicating the message as you guys are. So I'm thankful to be in your cohorts.
Yeah, man, and you definitely are. You're like the meme king when it comes to, you know, just displaying little snippets of truth in a way that is attractive. You know what I mean? Like your
for sure.
visuals and your editing skills, and just like it's your meme game is just top notch.
All
So
praise to the Father.
that we need
Thank
that,
you.
right? And that's we're a family, we're a body of members all over the world, Christ's, you know, body, and we all have different functions and abilities and skills. And you've got your skills, you know the message, you're gonna run off and you're gonna hopefully, you know, plant those seeds and bring in a harvest. Just
Can't
like
bury the talent.
Sean and I are hoping to. So
Yes, sir. You already
yeah,
know.
man. Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, here's one of your memes you put up recently on Messenger of the Most High. I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
Paired it with the two Baruch there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is just little stuff like this hopefully gets people thinking, because, you know, Ken and I, our heart's been for a long time now, how do we communicate the message of the gospel of the kingdom that Jesus did in a way that people can grasp and understand? Because I try to give it like a bumper sticker phrase. And by the way, your meme is communicating a piece of that information, right? So like I've tried to give that message in general a bumper sticker phrase of saying it's just the Father trying to get us back to the garden. But even in that, it's just so short. People don't quite understand all the things involved in that process, you know?
Right.
So here come Ken and I trying to make all these videos to explain that, trying to do shows to explain that. It just takes time to learn. And this, to me, it makes me understand why Jesus chose disciples and spent lots, you know, time with them, like day and night, teaching them and discipling them in this message, so then they could go out and teach it properly, because it's not just a single facet of message. Like there's all these little ancillary pieces of information to understand, like where you go after you die, like the timing of the first resurrection, like what was Zion also called the New Jerusalem? What was it before it became the New Jerusalem? You know, like if people don't understand these things, it's hard for them to grasp the fullness of the message, you know? And so this is where, like, if, you know, I'm praying continually, Father, help me get better at sharing this message so people can grasp it and pick it up. And I think that's all of our hearts, honestly, at this point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. And you said right at the beginning of the show, you said that what did you say? You said that I have this skill that you just don't have. And it's like, but you're the Sean Cyclopedia. I mean, I don't know anyone else, Wes, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe you do too, but I don't know anybody who can list off scriptures like that, like multiples just hopping all over the Bible.
He has that total recall. His mind is like a hard drive that he has instant access to. It's wild.
Yeah, and I want that for myself too. And I know that it takes diligent study, and you know, that memory recollection is a gift. I mean, that is a gift that the Father's given you, Sean. And so
Agreed.
it's incredible, brother. But yeah, I mean, even just this show, Uncommon Ground, is a facet of the overall constituent elements that makes up the gospel message of the kingdom of God, right? I mean, we need to know the setting that the Father placed us in and where he lives, and how that pertains to, you know, the beginning and the end, and how we're going to live with him, and how we can achieve that through Yeshua, and how, you know what I mean? It's all ties into each other. And so knowing, you know, the setting, just like any story or any book, that's imperative to understand, right? You need to get that so that you know what to expect in future days to come, right? Yeah. As the story unravels.
And it really helps put a physical, tangible image, you know, puts imagery on the story about where this is happening, where he's coming from at this point, where we're coming from when that happens. And it's just, yeah, it brings it all alive. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so my gift, I guess, and my desire and passion has been music all my life. And so since meeting Sean back in 2014 and you know, hashing things out in study groups and just texting each other, messaging each other constantly, just sharpening, right? Iron sharpening iron, kind of running things by each other. We got to a point where I think we felt pretty confident in what the Bible really is teaching as a whole with regards to this, especially the gospel message, right? We just thought that it wasn't being driven home enough. Like there was missing pieces in people's theological stances with regards to what that was. And we wanted to champion that. Right. And so
100%.
For me, I was like, I'd love to be able to translate that into music. If I can get people to listen, right, and hear all these different themes and stuff like that and concepts, and that they're not used to hearing in normal Christianity, and especially in the music industry.
Really, though?
then I'm somehow hopefully reaching someone and getting them to pick up their Bible and be like, what the heck is he singing about this for? Like, what does this mean? Like,
I've seen it happen with your Mother Above song. You know, people are
Yeah.
like, what are you talking about, mother? No, dude. And then I'm like, here's the scripture, Galatians.
yeah.
It's beautiful, beautifully done with what you've done in your previous albums. We're going to be highlighting some music from your latest album as well that you just dropped 2-3 weeks ago. So we're excited to do that. But in fact, I think it might be good timing right now to play one of your songs, because Wes has actually provided some visuals, like a little music video for one of Ken's songs from one of his previous CDs, and it is about the gospel of the kingdom. So I think you guys, this might be a good time for that. What do y'all say?
Yeah,
Yeah,
about a year ago exactly, I put this together for his song because I just love the song. I noticed it wasn't one that he was, heavily promoting, but that it was just a classic that he had put out that I just was blessed tremendously by, and I found all these visuals that I thought would really go along great with it.
Awesome, guys.
It's one of your skills, right? You take something, you make it a little bit better, you sharpen it, you shine it up, you polish it. So it's good. This is an old song. This is from 2014. So
is it really 2014? What was the name of the album? That this was?
Return. It was called Return, which is
the
the name
title
of the
track.
song.
And the song is called Return. Okay. All right, here it goes.
Absolutely. When that drum cuts out and you say for the first time, you say the Father delights in you. If you don't even know it, then now you do. That part gives me chills every time. I listen to it on repeat sometimes.
Thanks. Yeah, it's funny because I'm like my worst critic, you know. As I've created music throughout the years, I look back at this album, I'm like, oh man, I was so not immature. Like I was very zealous because it was only a couple of years into my understanding of Torah, right? Which I'll talk about maybe in a little bit, but just I've always wanted to be scripturally accurate with how I portray the message in my lyrics. But that album is, if I could have a rewrite on some of the lyrics, I would do it. But it just shows the kind of the progression of how, my walk has formed, just like everyone's, right?
Absolutely.
You start with a certain understanding and you kind of just titrate your mind a little bit to like, change what you used to believe and you change on things that you're going to start believing or looking into. And it just shows my journey as a believer. It's just kind of funny to me,
Yeah, absolutely. And I had that same stance with a lot of the music that I put out before I even became, a real believer. And I had left it up on my channel for quite some time with that same thought in mind that, it could show anybody, hey, this is where I've came from, this is where I come from, and this is where I'm at now. And, this can happen for anybody too with the power of the Father. So it just got to a point where I was like, man, some of that old music was so raunchy and nasty. Like I couldn't bear to leave it up anymore, knowing how many people were going to come to my channel with what we're doing now. So I'm so thankful to be where I'm at now. And so you have a lot to be thankful about, knowing that you feel that way about that old music and it was so much better than what I was putting out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's that particular song, actually, that was kind of based off of like a Jeremiah 15 theme, right? If you return to me, I'll return to you and like bring you back to the land type thing. And so that was even before I fully understood kind of the gospel message of the kingdom and how it will return and how we are going to literally take in possession of the land when it comes down through the firmament. And that was beautiful. My heart at the time. Sorry, Sean.
Yeah, that's beautiful, right? Because isn't Jeremiah 15 just repeating Jeremiah 3:8-13? Where he tells both houses, just return to me and I will return to you.
Yeah.
Reaffirming what we hear from, Deuteronomy 4, Leviticus 26, and Judges 2, where he's like, I will never break covenant with you. You just need to repent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Ezekiel 18.
Yep. Yeah. So it's interesting that so many people, they really struggle with this idea of that just not just coming to the Father, but once they get to the Father and they're walking out their journey, that unfortunately, let me put it like this. There's a lot of bad doctrines out there that have told believers that once you accept Christ as your Savior, you're done.
Yeah.
Right. And that just, unfortunately, it leaves them with so little guidance to their growth and their discipleship, their sanctification. And that's very, in my opinion, why a lot of believers fall away, right? They become, kind of like the seed that's scattered along the roadside, and they don't feel that passion, that zeal, because those emotions always wear off from the beginning, just as they did with me. And if they're not continuing their discipleship, because they've been told erroneously, they've been told falsely that, oh, you're all your sins are forgiven now, you're done, you're with Jesus, you don't have to do the behavior of the Old Testament anymore because that's somehow bad, So as you mentioned, Ken, you talked about how you've come to a new understanding of this word Torah, but also maybe you could just help the audience with a little bit of your journey, your progression from, how you became a believer. Were you raised in it? Did you have a turning point moment of repentance? Did you have an altar call moment? Tell us about that.
Yeah, please. Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, I was born and raised in Ontario, Canada, and raised in a Christian home. My parents always brought us to church, and they read us the Bible. I was gifted a picture Bible, which was one of my favorite Bibles for many, many years at a young age. And so I was always fascinated kind of with the stories, right? With
I had one of those too. Those are awesome.
Did you? Yeah. I kind of want to pick one up again. They're on Amazon. I've been meaning to.
I bought another one a year ago.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're good to read. I mean, even if you want it just for like in the washroom, right? You want to read something really, comical.
Are you talking about the Kingstone comic Bible?
Yeah, I wanted to see the artist's interpretation of these passages and what images they would put in. I thought it was fascinating.
Me too.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I loved, Jesus from as early on as I can remember. And I grew up, matured, and my parents actually ended up getting a divorce in my early teens. And so that was kind of the turning point for me in terms of like how much I guess I viewed God in my life. I just stopped caring because I was always told, like, you don't get divorced, you don't do this, you don't do that. And they did it. So I was like, okay, well, obviously they don't really care too much about it, and why should I really, right? Like, why should I really invest in this God much if my parents who have been teaching me this stuff aren't really, you know exemplifying it, I guess. So, and I love them. It's there's nothing to this day that I hold grudges against or anything like that, but it was a hurtful moment in my life, and it made me kind of rethink just, God as a whole. And so I went to high school. I met up with the wrong crowds. I drank. I did some drugs, not crazy drugs, but like stuff that I wish I wouldn't have done. Um, but yeah, I had the whole teenage rebellion years, and through all that though, I always had like a good pack of friends as well. Like I lived the double life, right? I had the group of Christian friends that I had throughout all the church years that I maintained friendships with. And I would see them, every so often. And then I had my other group of friends that were kind of more worldly and into partying, and definitely not anything to do with God, right? And so I always thought it was worth keeping the good Christian friends around because I knew eventually I would be heading back to more of that type of lifestyle, like fully. And so it wasn't until I think I was around 19 years old. I went to a church service, and the pastor at that time had asked me, because I had always been interested in music and stuff. He knew that I play guitar. He was wondering, hey, do you want to, would you be interested in playing guitar or having some sort of involvement in the worship band? I was like, all right, maybe. Like, I'm not really here because I care much. It's just like my friends are here, and you know, yeah, I guess I have a skill on the guitar. I guess I can help you out if you need it, right? Because I loved playing music. I think the first time I picked up my guitar was around the time my parents got divorced, 13, 14 years old. And so I said, yeah, okay, sure. I'll give it a shot. And then that kind of developed into a more consistent routine in my life. It kind of moved me to going to church on Sundays more, and I was more involved in it. And eventually I just started thinking, okay, this is these are good people. This is a good crowd. And the pastor at the time who invited me to, join this worship band had said that he was wanting to do a preceptorship with me, like a 4 month over the summer mentorship type of preceptorship thing. And I was like, all right. And because he thought that I had like um, the skills and ability to be like a worship arts pastor, like someone who could lead worship in a church. And I had never thought I wanted to do that, obviously, because I didn't have really that desire. I was more in it to play, right, just to jam around. And so I was like, okay, I'll take advantage of that, sure. And so I did that, and I think I grew a little closer to God during that time. And I thought, well, maybe this is God trying to call me back into this lifestyle. And I ended up actually going to British Columbia. There was a Bible college there called uh, CBC, I think it was called. Yeah, something like that. CBC, something, Columbia Bible College, I think is what it was called. And I took a worship arts and theology program, which was supposed to be a 4-year program. And I did the first year, and I liked it. For the most part, I liked it. And where my campus was situated near was this fire department. And so I always saw these guys whipping in and out with the fire trucks. And I was like, that's kind of cool. I might switch gears here and look into doing that instead. I don't know if I want to do this worship pastor thing. So I ended up doing that. I just did the first year, and I went back to Ontario and took all my training for firefighting, and then that led to paramedicine, and that was in my, I guess, mid-20s. I got all that training done, and then I headed out to Nova Scotia because they were hiring like crazy back in 2010, 2011. So I left Ontario, moved out east to Nova Scotia, and got a full-time paramedic position.
If I could, this is one part of your testimony that I do recall vividly hearing before, that specifically you had a coworker during that time. Was he a Jehovah's Witness?
Yes. Yeah.
You mind speaking about that at all? Like, I know
Yeah.
that kind of challenged your doctrinal understandings at the time, right? Those conversations.
I can lead into that for sure. So yeah, I headed out to Nova Scotia, became a paramedic, and I think it was about a year into that profession. I was seeing a lot of things and having to deal with a lot of calls that I knew that it was going to be a pretty eye-opening profession, but you don't know until you're doing it, right? Whether or not you can handle it. And I was handling it, but it was making me question just God in general. I was just seeing all the hurt and the suffering and the death and the suicide, all of it, right? And so I was just like, okay, what is this about? Like, am I, is this all there is? Is there more to this story, or does God really care about me? Does he care about humanity? And so I had like an existential crisis going on at that time. And it was in 2012 that I came home from a shift, and it was a pretty bad one. And I hopped into the shower and I just wept. I'm not someone who cries. My wife makes fun of me all the time about this. I'm not overly emotional. And the tears, it takes quite a bit for the tears to kind of come out of the ducts, you know what I mean? But I wept. I got into the shower and I wept, and I got down on my knees and I was like, God, Father, like if you're real, like I think you're real, but if you truly do exist and you care about me on an individual level, and you want to show me what this life is truly all about, I'm in. Like, I'll do whatever it takes. Please, like, just hear me, right? And it wasn't long after that I ended up going back home to Ontario for Christmas in 2012 to my mother's place. And, we got into some of the wine and, the spirits, right? And my mom started saying how, isn't it weird that we do this Christmas thing? This tree here, it's actually like from paganism. And I was like, what are you talking about? Paganism? Christmas? She's like, yeah. She's like, it's actually rooted in paganism. It's kind of weird that we do it, but who cares, right? I'm like, whoa. What are you talking about? So that was actually the catalyst that spurred me on to looking deeper into, okay, well, is there any validity to what she's saying, right? Or is this just the wine talking?
Yeah.
And so I like went back to Nova Scotia and I researched the origins of Christmas, and I found out that they're pagan. They're very pagan, and they're not in the Bible, and they weren't what the disciples and Yeshua were celebrating. And then I started finding out, well, there's feasts that these men of God were taking part in. And so that was like the catalyst where I was like, oh, okay, like it just started to unravel, and I got into contact with like Rob Skiba's channel around that time too. The Father just started like bringing and presenting certain parts and people into my faith walk, where I was like, all right, I guess this is what I prayed for. Like, I'm kind of unlearning the lies, as Lex Meyer's kind of motto is, right? Unlearn the lies, and seeing what the Bible actually says. And I guess this is what I was praying for, is that I need to know what this book that I've loved since childhood and have disregarded for many years of my life says. I need to actually know what's in it. And so I had this just desire to read it and to study it and to know everything there is in it, right? And so that progressed into me moving around in Nova Scotia to different various bases from where I was working out of. And I met up with another guy who was a fellow paramedic, who was a Jehovah's Witness. And he loved the Word of God as well. He was very passionate about his beliefs, and he was never really open with talking about it with people, but him and I had a connection because we both brought our Bibles to the base. When we weren't on calls or moving around in the ambulance, we were at the base with our Bibles open. And so it just inevitably happened that we were just like, hey, like, what do you believe? Like, what is it? I know you're a Jehovah's Witness, but what do you believe? And so we just naturally, the conversation kind of progressed into getting more deep into the doctrines that we believe in, right?
That's cool.
And one of the ones that he challenged me on was the Trinitarian doctrine.
Right.
And that was, I wouldn't classify myself as a knee jerker. I'm very open-minded, but that one to me was like, I thought it was dangerous. I was like, God has been showing me so much for the last, couple years here. I don't know if I want to look into this one. This might be blasphemous, right?
Well, that's what you're taught with that one, right?
You are. Yes, Sean.
To question it is to be denying Jesus somehow.
Exactly.
Or his divinity, yeah.
Exactly. So
which we don't.
No, right. And so the more you look into it, you realize, okay, the origins of that, even just that doctrine, aren't biblical. It's a man-made construct. And so, yeah, I just continued to move forward, and eventually my desire and passion for the Word of God led to just being more online and into the social media realm of things. And that's where I kind of met Sean. I think it was on a Rob Skiba post or something like that. And we were both, I don't remember exactly what it was about, but Sean's is like, hey, we got a secret group where we kind of, I think it's a Flat Earth Sharpeneth Flat Earth or something like that it was called. And
well, it was FE Sharpeneth FE Psalm 27:17. There's a pun in there for the Flat Earth, but
iron sharpen iron. I got
iron
you.
Sharpen iron. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so that's where Sean and I built our friendship and our, what we have today. And it's been a huge blessing. And yeah, there's been a lot of ups and downs, a lot of, challenges, as I'm sure your viewers, can empathize with, and you guys as well. Just that, the more you press forward with your desire to get a little closer to the truth, comes with, the negativity and the people dropping out of your life and calling you things. And but that's what Yeshua said was going to happen. And you just love on them, right? And that's another thing that I just love about Brother Sean and other brothers out there, yourself, Wes.
Thank you.
Is this like not like an ecumenical thing, but like just bring unity, right? Like just, yes, we can disagree, but we don't need to there doesn't need to be an excommunication, calling people ad hominems and stuff like that and heretics. And we can do this with love and respect for each other. And Paul calls us to do this with regards to getting that much closer to sound doctrine, right? We want to we want to teach the world who is hungry for the truth, and they don't even know it a lot of times.
Yeah.
Sound doctrine. And in order to do that, we got to come together and use the gifts that the Father's given us so that we can accomplish that. And I think clearly Sean has an amazing gift of teaching and getting that message out in a clear and concise, comprehensive way. You, Brother Wes, I think I'm all right at doing what I do as well. And I know there's a lot of other brothers out there too. And we can just band together and pool our resources. How much more effective could we be? And I know that's Sean's cry, and that was kind of the thrust behind Fallen Man, my album. The title track song Fallen Man is just we're this fractured, splintered body, right? We're supposed to be the body of Christ, but we're fractured and we're hitting ourselves and we're bruising. It's almost like a Jim Carrey style, where he's punching himself and what I mean? We're hurting ourselves. We're abusing our own body, and it's unfortunate.
Wasn't it in Ancient Vow, one of the opening lines? I think you said, "We men sure know how to quarrel over things that break the heart."
Yeah, that's in Fallen Man. That
was Fallen Man. Okay.
Yeah, that was kind of the thrust behind that. Is just we have people who believe in Yeshua and claim and profess to have this love and this desire, to portray that amazing connection with the Creator to the world, but yet we quarrel amongst ourselves. We inflict wounds on our bodies. We in one stroke of the word we bless somebody, even though a few hours earlier we just cursed them with the tongue. You know what I mean? It's just we're our own worst enemy. And if we can just band together and get over the fact that yes, we're going to have differences in doctrines and some things, but let's
Yep.
let's see where we're at as a whole in terms of what we believe in foundationally, and move and unite that way. And that's my desire. I know that's Sean's desire as well, and I think that's Yeshua's desire too, that we do that.
There's an old saying that motivates me towards that feeling, and I don't know who said it first, but this old saying says, "And with the essentials, unity; with the non-essentials, liberty; and in all things, love."
Yeah.
That's a great quote.
Because if we have not love, we are but a clanging cymbal. And so I can definitely appreciate that about you. That's something I adore about you, Ken, is that you always have a very patient and loving spirit about you. And you always have a genuine heart. And everything you say, it exudes from every word you speak, brother. And
Thank you.
It rubs off.
It wasn't always there, brother. It wasn't always there. No.
And something I got to say about, you said that one doctrine that you were challenged by, that one Jehovah's Witness individual, that you said how it felt dangerous. And I got to say, I was really green behind the ears coming into a lot of these understandings when I was turned on to y'all's channels. I didn't know a whole lot. I didn't, go to church religiously necessarily growing up, but so I didn't have a lot of misunderstandings to have to correct. But that Trinity idea was a big one, and that was like the last misunderstanding that I needed help correcting. And it was one of your videos where I had that aha moment where it was eureka. I figured it out, and so I want to thank you for that.
Praise God, all the glory to Him. But along this journey though, guys, is the biblical cosmology. Obviously, this is your show, right? And this was a monumental time in my life. I mean, when I first started hearing about it and testing it, it changed everything. Like, I would go on walks with my dog, and I would look at the sky differently. I would purposefully go out at night and look at the stars and being like, oh my gosh, like this is not what we've been told, especially when you've researched, the book of the First Enoch and other heavily biblical cosmology related texts. And you're just like, I don't know how it can't change you. You know what I mean? Like, it's foundational, literally. It's foundational. And so it just brings the rest of the scriptures to life, especially when you have a comprehension of the promise of the New Jerusalem to come and how that will work. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I'm very excited for your model to hopefully show that. That'd be really neat to do.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's the setting. You need to know the setting. And so this is the type of stuff that I've wanted to bring about into my songs as well, right? Just not shove it down people's throats straight up, but like, sprinkle it here and there, include it into the main message, right? It's important.
I would love to hear another one. Is it time?
Yeah.
Sure.
Speaking of, Ancient Vow did a great job at reflecting exactly some of the things you were just saying, looking up, and you think about how the bows the heavens will bow.
Yeah.
And that every night, I can't count how many nights I've gone out and just looked at the stars and like, I'm really looking at a dome. Yeah, it actually looks like that.
Yeah, it's incredible. It really is.
All right. So this is Ancient Vow. This is from your latest CD, Fallen Man, right?
That's
Your
right.
latest album.
You stand When can I run to you? My heart and feet feel migratory. I wanna run, I wanna run, I wanna run. When I scan these murky skies, I'm reminded that the firmaments will hide from the one who brings his bride. As I sail the tossing sea, reminiscing that your dead will be set free from the fetters of the deep. Many build their wicked towers to slow as the time draws closer to the hour when your kingdom comes with power. When your kingdom comes with power.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yeah, that's a powerful song, brother. You've got just I love the hook. I love it all. It's great. Well done. Absolutely
Thank
well
you.
done.
Thank you very much. It was that's more of a heavy biblical cosmology related song. That's kind of why I wanted to present that one tonight. I mean, it's straight up Isaiah 34:4, Revelation 6:14 about how the vaults of heaven
That's
are
right.
going to essentially be rolled back right at the return of the Messiah. And that was a reflection for me of when I go outside and I'm looking, as I was just talking about before the song, I look at the sky differently, and knowing that thing is going to literally roll back like a scroll, along with the other firmaments that are above it, to accommodate for Yeshua's return with this massive 1,500 square mile landmass and angels and all that stuff. It's just like, how can I not sing about that? That's an important day. That's what the Bible calls the day of the Lord, and it's so highly prophesied about that. And I know, Sean, you obviously agree with this. This is something that you don't hear often taught behind pulpits, right? And
Well, because they would have to understand biblical cosmology to start answering any questions that would naturally come from this topic.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So
And that's where we find pastors run into some trouble. Like I think I've told you guys before, and I was in a car with 3 pastors / missionaries, and I asked them, how do y'all take the New Jerusalem? Is it literal or figurative? And none of them can answer me.
yeah.
So it should be like super quick answer, right? Oh, it's literal. It's literally the kingdom you inherit. It's preserved for you as paradise, and the third layer of the firmament is going to be coming down on the day of the Lord. It's literally where the resurrected saints go to live, and it will be the point of light, truth, and resource for the rest of the world to come to and enjoy the feast days and learn about the ways of the Creator and create literal peace on the earth. But instead, they all just looked at each other and had no answer.
I know, and it's sad. It's sad because it's like it's not some holographic, concept. It's a literal,
Right.
tangible, real place, like just like what we're sitting on right now. Knock on your, your desk. Give yourself a slap there. That's real and has substance.
It's not a wispy ghost land. You're right.
Yeah.
And I can definitely relate to the idea of feeling inspiration from these concepts that you want to sing about it, right? And so I had taken years off of my rap career, right? Because I'd gotten to a point where, man, the people I was making music with were either dead or locked up for an indefinite amount of time almost, So it was to that point, and I'd always already felt like the music we were making wasn't what I really felt in my heart that I wanted to make. I was just kind of doing it for the friends and for the popularity or whatever the case. And so I'd taken some time off, and I'd missed it. I really yearned to want to get back into that hobby and that passion of the art of doing music. And so when I understood the biblical creation model, and then that led me to want to find out more about what the scriptures say, I was just overcome with the desire to start producing music where I was talking about those themes. And so I share that with you, brother.
Yeah, exactly, man.
I'm brothers with you.
Yes. And it's you want to refrain from just like the platitudes, like there's so many
commonalities.
songs out there. Yeah, you want to touch on the things that are just a little more, tangible and real and exciting.
Yeah.
So that was kind of, that was one of the reasons I wanted to create this Fallen Man album, is to get people who I know are coming into a better understanding of the gospel message, to give them something to listen to, so that, it can accommodate their understanding a little more, and give them a little more joy, and something to praise and sing about.
You remind me of some lyrics I just recently wrote, and I'll give a sneak peek of them. I said, "The king of the kingdom is coming, the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom he's running. A literal kingdom with tangible tenets, a physical city with animals in it. It's a real live promised land inscribed in his hand for the resurrected man." So yeah,
it's awesome,
absolutely.
Brother. It's awesome because I obviously don't have that skill that you have, right? Where you can cover so much more ground, right? I've only got like, I don't know, like 10 to 20 lines of lyrics in a song, because I'm not rapping it or anything like that. But
I
you
was
can
just
cover
thinking
so
about
much ground, and I'm like, oh, I'm jealous of that genre for that reason, even though I can't do it. But I'm like, so how am I gonna just like compact all this stuff into a small little,
I have an idea how I might be able to help. Would
Yeah,
you
how's
be
that?
open? Would you be open, Ken, to doing any kind of collaboration, any kind of collaborative work in the future? I know we have completely different genres, but I think that I could be able to, the Father's blessed me with the talent to be able to mold my message to fit along with a song that you produce. So I would love to work together with you, if that would be all right.
Hands down, yes. That's
Cool.
a straight yes. And speaking of collaboration, brother, I need to give a couple shout outs to a few people that were, huge players in the album. Daniel James Heck, he is a very gifted drummer, and I think he plays guitar as well. He's just a brother who is on fire for Yahweh and for keeping his commandments, and loves the biblical cosmology topics and all that stuff. And him and I kind of met up, and due to our musical backgrounds, and I reached out to him. I was like, do you want to possibly collaborate on my new album, do some of the drumming? And unfortunately, due to some of his work circumstances and just like general life circumstances, he couldn't commit to fully doing it. But over a series of months, he did help me get a good vibe of the beats, and he ended up actually sending all my rough tracks to a quite well-known drummer by the name of Jared Easterling from the band Fit for a King. I'm not sure if you've heard of them or not.
I had heard of them before you told me about that. Yeah.
And so he ended up actually recording the drums in his studio for me, and I was just like, wow! I was like geeking out. I'm such a fan of that band.
That's awesome.
So
Amazing.
Yeah, I have to do shout outs for those brothers, and also a sister that played a part on my second track on Fallen Man called Comp here. Right at the end there, for about the last minute or so, she's playing violin.
Nice.
And her name's Hannah Johnson, and she has her own YouTube channel, Hannah Johnson Worship. Beautiful voice, violinist, guitarist. She's a very talented musician who loves the Father as well, and writes and records worship music as well. So yeah, have to do the shout outs because they were a huge part of the success of this album.
Integral. Yeah. Isn't it amazing how he just brings people together, like to make projects come to life that will glorify him? And I can see it over and over again. I have firsthand experience with it as well. So that's an amazing thing.
Amazing.
Shout out to those people.
Absolutely. I don't know if you guys want to move on to something else real quick, but before we do, An Ancient Vow, Sean, thank you so much for doing that album review, by the way, back on Kingdom in Context. That was awesome. I don't think I thanked you enough for that, because it definitely brought some exposure to the album itself, but it was just cool to see a brother who I've been studying with for so many years literally just expounding on and interpreting my song. You knew where I was going with it. There were several times during the broadcast you were like, I think Ken is expressing this, and I haven't talked to Ken about this, and you're bang on.
You were like, yes.
Literally everything. Yeah, I didn't see it live because he was doing it so late because of the time differences between where we're doing it, but I watched it the following night, and I was just like, yeah, he knows me. He knows what I'm trying to express, because he knows the message clearly. And so I just, I mean, our friendship and our studying together has led to my comprehension of these topics and to the ability to write them down in lyrics. And so I just want to thank you for that. And one of the key elements in Ancient Vow staying with the whole biblical cosmology concept, is Sheol, right?
Yeah.
A lot of believers don't know about that either. They, you know, for the most part of my life, I always thought when you die, you either go to heaven or hell, and no longer obviously believe that to be the truth. I don't believe the scriptures teach that at all. And in fact, they teach, you know, something called, you know, a womb of Sheol, where the bodies of people who die end up going
The
to
souls, you mean.
the
Yeah.
souls. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, souls.
And so that's kind of what I wanted to, you know, touch on too throughout the album, is this concept of where we go when we die and how we're released from it, just like Yeshua, Jesus, the Messiah, was released from it after 3 days into his own resurrected body. And that's the promise of what we get. We get an immortal body too that can, you know, pass through doors, right? John 20:19, where Yeshua literally just shows up into a room. And I love it because I had to touch on that with my lyrics, because I always, when I came across that verse of John 20:19, I was just like, that is so cool that the author, John, throws that in there. He wants the audience to know this door was locked, and he suddenly appears
to display your wounds in a locked room. Display your wounds in locked rooms.
And it's amazing because all my life I knew that Jesus kind of like appeared and disappeared, and I thought, okay, that's cool. But we get that too. Like, that's the promise of our resurrected body as well, right?
Yeah.
And so
what's this based off of? Just for the audience, in case they've never heard this idea before, what is that even idea based off of?
How do you mean, the resurrection?
Yeah, that type of extra ability with our resurrection bodies. You know, it's based off this idea that Yeshua promises us we'll be given, like Paul explains in 1 Corinthians 15, we're given a spiritual body. It's not the same type of, you know, body of dirt that he breathed the spirit of life into. It'll be a spiritual body, which is made of water and spirit. So it's a little bit different construction, if you will, a little bit different chemistry. And I think, you know, he tells us we'll be made like the angels at the resurrection. And he tries to tell this to Nicodemus in John 3 a little bit and give him a little bit of, you know, preface to the capability of this body. He's like, where the spirit goes where it wants, right? Just like Yeshua, now made of a spiritual body, which is its own chemistry and physics. It can go where it wants, and a locked room's not going to stop him. You know, just like the angel that shows up in Acts 16 to free Peter from the jail cell. Jail cell ain't going to stop him.
Right.
Exactly.
And Sean, speaking of that, could you pull up Ken's channel again on Hanging on His Words? Would you show the cover of a video, or a series of videos, really? He's got a playlist called Water and Spirit. And this is one of my most recommended videos or series of videos from Ken. Each one is about 30 minutes long. It's 3 parts altogether, about a little over an hour, right? So Water and Spirit, that last one at the bottom.
Right here, guys.
This is the one I'd recommend. He covers the resurrection and the way the bodies, the way your body's
my cheesy hat there. It's just like early start of the channel, you can tell.
You had it hooked up more than 119 Ministries with your own logos and stuff. It was legit. Yeah. But y'all, he does such an amazing job at outlining so many scriptures from places like Apocalypse of Baruch and Enoch and the canon as well, where he just he shows such a great picture of the resurrection and what that's going to look like. And I was impressed by it, and I think more people should see it.
Yeah, it's all over the place. It's everywhere in scripture, and it's, you know, it's our blessed hope. It's the promise of eternal life, and we get to live in a cool house on top of that. And, you know, you have to express it, right? When you know it, you have to. You can't keep your mouth shut about it.
And you do such a great job of the little clips. You have so many little moments of humor where you just get such a great chuckle in amongst so much good, juicy, meaty information. You just do an amazing job, bro.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. When we first started our channels, I told Ken, I was like, man, I hope you're ready. I think your graphics are great. Your videos are great. Because he spends a lot of time with the production value of his videos. And I was like, your channels are going to get a ton more views than mine. But unfortunately, I didn't factor in censorship from YouTube, because you remember we started back, like, there was censorship was already happening, but not to the degree it is now. So like some of our videos were actually growing back then, and then they all just get kind of shut off. Now, I think, Ken, each of us have a video that has probably gotten more than 30 or 40,000 views. Is that right?
Yeah, I have one. I think it was the Firmament Waters Above. Of course, it's talking about biblical cosmology. You know, the YouTube marionetters don't want that getting spread far and wide. So, but it's taken off in the first several months that it was released or I uploaded it, it just took off. So
Yeah, and it's weird to see this type of spike. Here it is. Oh, it's at 53,000 now. But look at the disparity, guys. 53 to 12 to 12 to 11, like to 7 to 7. This is what YouTube does. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is what I've talked about before. Whereas, I think my most watched video is only like 33,000 or something like that. So it just gets to a point where the average viewership of your videos, they cap it off at a certain spot. And that's where these are just the most highest viewed videos on his channel. But all of it is the same great content as this one with the 53,000 views. And typically in the past, if anyone that's understands YouTube or studied YouTube like I have, anything that actually starts growing above 20 or 30,000, you get into a whole new algorithm where, within a year or two, you'd be over 100,000 easy, if not way 400,000 views, right? But they have these new specific algorithms specifically for anything to do with biblical cosmology, and they want to suppress it as much as possible. So unfortunately, Ken, we'll never know. We may never know the real number of people that's viewed your content. But I just want to encourage you, as someone that makes content, although mine's like totally different style, your content is a production, just like your music is a production. It's wonderful. It's great. Guys, if you haven't already subscribed to Ken's channel, go do that now. It's in the video description below this video. And because it's informative, it's to the point, it's wonderful visuals and background music that's soothing. And it's, in my opinion, it's easy for people to pick up the content like he's trying to explain. So go check that out. Go subscribe. You will not be disappointed. It's great videos that you can actually send to your friends and family to express a topic that will get them over a little hurdle in their understanding. So go do that. Go subscribe.
thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And the plan is actually for, I don't know if your viewers or, even my viewers really are aware. I did make a message about it recently, but I am planning to get back to doing more video production full-time-ish in August.
Okay.
I know, Wes, right? So yeah, it's I've been in healthcare for 10 years now, and that's actually something I should probably throw into my testimony. Is I actually injured my back in 2015, and I ended up getting out of the paramedic profession in 2000. I think it was late 2018. And so I had some opportunity and some time as I was retraining to study the scriptures hardcore. It was like I took it almost like a full-time job. I was like, all right, I'm off. I have an injury. I'm gonna try to get this thing rehabbed as much as I can. But in the meantime, I'm gonna hone in on these scriptures like none else. And that was probably the most zealous part of my life, is because I had the opportunity. I know a lot of people just don't have it because they're so bogged down with the 9 to 5, the mundane, they can't get out of that, right? And I was just blessed with some time off retraining and rehabbing my back injury to study a lot more. And so I eventually got back into another healthcare professional job, which is in a hospital now. I've been doing that for almost a year, and it's taken so much of my time away. I mean, just like anybody else, right? You're working full time. It's been hard for me to maintain the channel and just consistency with uploading new videos and content. But on top of that, if I'm going to be transparent and honest, just with the whole thing that's happening across the earth in every country, that it's made me a little more sorrowful, a little more depressed.
You're talking about the C word.
Yeah, it's kind of taken the wind out of my sails in a unfortunate way. I focused so much more on what's going on with that and how these big key elite figures in the world are moving, and it's gotten my eyes off of the prize, unfortunately.
Well, where you live is a totally different environment, right? As far as the amount of restrictions they've imposed, the types of lockdowns they've done, travel restrictions of all kinds. So yeah, that would take a toll on anybody. I mean, we literally moved from the town we were in because, they were imposing stupid restrictions. They didn't do a curfew. They didn't do a travel ban as far as what you told me they were doing in your province. But I mean, we moved to a different place where there were no restrictions simply because of that. And the restrictions we were facing were very minimum compared to what you've expressed to me. So I can understand how that would take a toll on you.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's experiencing some form of tyrannical oppression, right? Doesn't matter where you are. But Canada seems to be, under the microscope when I'm looking at other media outlets that are from other countries, and they're looking at Canada. They're like, what is going on in Canada? Why are they still doing this? And why are they implementing these bills? And unfortunately, we have these crazy bills that our prime minister is trying to pass through the House of Commons to make legislation, and it pertains to censorship, like 100% censorship. Anything that's can be deemed hate speech, and they just want to get it off the internet. He wants to regulate the internet here in Canada.
Yeah,
and
it's already illegal to have anything deemed as hate speech towards homosexuals, right?
Yeah,
I mean, anything on the streets. Yeah,
and it's like they're the arbiters of what hate speech gets to be.
Exactly.
Crazy. So
completely according to their discretion. It's wild.
So in saying all that, it has lit a fire under me again to just start back to doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the Father's in control of everything. It can happen. It can't happen. Who knows? But I just know that I need to take advantage of the opportunity and the time that I have to continue to do the work that the Father has started in my life, you know. And like I said, I unfortunately got to a place where I was just, you know, worrying more about, you know, the circumstances in my life, in my town, in my province, and how that's going to relate to my life moving forward, right? And I just got my eyes off of what I truly do love the most, which is, you know, to read and study the scriptures and to present and do video productions and music productions. And so I do plan on getting back to that in August. My wife is an amazing person who's very supportive, very loving, and realizes that is my passion in life, and that, you know, it's the most meaningful thing for me is to get back to doing that. And so I plan on doing that come August. It's already, the schedule has been already talked about at my work. And, you know, I'm a casual where I work at the hospital, so I can really take on any hours that I want. I was just doing full-time hours for, you know, the first while I started there, just kind of get my foot in the door and get, you know, more experience and just get a
what a blessing, brother. I want to further encourage you. I remember about a year ago, was it that I messaged you, I reached out to you and I said, hey, brother, I just really want to encourage you to make that Sheol video you've been talking about. Yeah. And then sure enough, it was the next video you put out. That was great. But then just furthermore, we had mentioned earlier on in our conversation, Sean was talking about the parable of the sower and how that people that don't have that discipleship followed up with in their life can fall away, right, very quickly after they lose that zeal, like everybody can after you have that honeymoon stage, right? Well, when I hit that zeal in my early days of you know, getting that fire lit under me, I was turned on to y'all's channels, and as a result of your consistent, you know, outputting of the messages that y'all were presenting, that was what kept me tethered in so many ways, because you know, especially with what we're dealing with now, like we were just talking about, people aren't able to attend their you know, churches and their congregations like they were. But even for people that just are waking up to all these realizations of truth, that don't feel at home in certain congregations that they had exposure to, they need people like you, people like us, doing what we're doing, so that they have something to go to keep them rooted in the Word.
Yeah, no, I agree, brother, and that has been a factor to getting me to, you know, that extra push to get back into doing it, because I realize that beyond myself, that there are people that have been messaging me and been like, "Yo, what you're not uploading anything? What's going on? Like, we need your videos. My family loves your stuff," and they're confused.
They're not lying to you. Yeah.
No, I know that, and so it's like I have to get back to doing it, and I want to do it, and I'm trusting that the Father is gonna, you know, get me to that place to do it. And with that comes just that passion and that zeal that I once had that was stagnated throughout this, you know, C word, right?
Right. I'm so excited.
Now, Ken, you made an announcement, I think in our Facebook group. For those of you guys who don't know, Ken and I, we have it's called Kingdom of Context, Hanging on His Words. What is it called? Study group? Is that?
I think so.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
We call it a study group.
One.
It's a long name, but we have a study group on Facebook that did you make an announcement recently talking about there's some legislation in Canada that might prevent channels from yours from existing?
I mentioned that, and just this, even what I've just been talking about getting back in August to do more video production.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that is what we've all, like, for the last several decades, people have joked about the idea of persecution of believers. Or not joked about it, but I would say they've mentioned it, and it usually came from like people that were already known as doom and gloom preachers.
Mhm.
But now it's like becoming a mainstream understanding that there is concerted efforts by governments of the world to stomp out the message of that's in the book, that's in the Bible, across the culture, all types of cultural war that we're dealing with right now. Everything is being pushed to be opposite of what the Bible teaches.
Yeah.
So everything that's being pushed upon us, not just about cosmology, that's been pushed for a long time, right? To get people that get to take their legs out from under them to understand the Bible. So now they feel confident in that deception, and they're going after all these other types of anti-biblical ideas that they're pushing in the culture and society worldwide in many countries. Part of that has been ramped up times 100 with this latest quote unquote demic that happened. And so this is where, my wife and I have lots of conversations about this, lots of uneasy conversations about this for the last year and a half as this stuff has been unfolding. Just like I'm sure you brothers have had conversations with your family about this kind of stuff. But ultimately, we've resigned ourselves to think, all right, well, look, believers in this country have had it, or in North America, I should say, have had it really good for a long time.
We have.
But if we get to a place where we actually have to face persecution for what we're doing, then I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm not going to stop. I'm just going to keep sharing the gospel of the kingdom as much as I can. And in fact, this may be me at some point. This will be the look on my face when they finally stop me from teaching the gospel of the kingdom that Yeshua taught. But if it has to come down to that,
It's hard to laugh at that. Yeah.
But really though, it's like, if that's me, because ultimately, to me, it's like, I guess I've gotten to a weird place where I feel like there's no greater honor.
Mm-hmm.
How we see these man movies, right? These war movies, like you look at stuff from like ancient battles, like 300, right? And they're like, oh, it'd be an honor to die with you today, brother. You know what I'm saying? Because they're out on the field and they got their sword and their shield. They're swinging at the enemy. And I just think to myself, has anyone ever asked me what I would think would be an honor to die? Like what would be an honor to die for? And I think to myself, 100%. If I went out preaching the same thing that Yeshua preached, and this is where I've been wanting to say this multiple times in the last 30, 40 minutes. As far as we were talking about the gospel of the kingdom, and I hope the audience knows, I know we're here about an hour into the broadcast, and I just hope that everyone watching understands we 100% view that Yeshua is King of kings and Lord of lords. He's the Son of God sent to be the Savior of mankind. He's our Redeemer, our rock, our salvation. He's our high priest. He is the person that will be the king of the New Jerusalem that we'll worship. He's wonderful, right? We believe in that, all that. He lived, died, and resurrected for your sin, the redemption and atonement for your sin. He's going to raise you to eternal life. We believe in all that foundational stuff, but that's not the whole story. That's a piece of the story. He's the king of the kingdom we've been talking about. He's the one that brings makes it possible for you to be resurrected and inherit the kingdom we've been talking about. So yeah, he's a huge central piece of the story. We're not forgetting Yeshua. We're not forgetting how important the Son of God is. But at the same time, we just want to make sure people understand there is more to this message. And the more to that message is the things that Ken has been wonderfully crafting into his lyrics. Same thing with Wes and Mike Maranatha and Marlo and J.O. Like they're getting it and they're crafting it into their songs so that hopefully you understand more of it too. And sometimes song is one of the most powerful ways to communicate that.
Yeah, amen.
Which we have all the Psalms, right? That talk about the gospel of the kingdom in the Bible.
Yeah.
At some point, someone had a tune they knew when they sung those. So yeah.
No,
that
I
last
can
song we
empathize,
put
man.
out, that last "Don't Let Me Go" with Jo and Mike Maranatha, like half of my verse was just Psalms. I was just
that's true.
It's so good. I like how you actually do your lyric write-ups, Wes. You showed me in a Facebook message kind of how you take a passage of scripture and then you just kind of reword it and tweak it to your vibe, right?
Try to make it rhyme, yeah.
So cool.
Thank you.
Great way to do it. But I agree,
So-
Sean, man. I want to go out, not like Peter, but swinging the sword type thing, but proclaiming that message, right? Like Stephen, maybe, right? Proclaim that message, and
Yeshua.
you can kill my body, but there's another part of me that you won't be able to get to. So
That's right. Yeah, our Messiah, literally with his dying last breaths, is still talking about the gospel of the kingdom as he turns to the thief and says to him, I promise you today that you will be with me in paradise.
That's right.
That you to understand what paradise is, where it is, when it's coming to the earth.
You sure it wasn't? I promise you'll be in paradise with me today.
Yeah, right. No, it's not.
Okay.
Comma. Where's the comma?
Right. Yeah, I always try to remind people, where did Jesus go when he died? Did
I
he go
know,
to
right?
paradise, or did he
No.
go? So you're saying paradise is in the heart of the earth? Oh well, no.
All too
Oh, okay.
often, that's how they decide it. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to walk them through the logic there, but
Right.
but yeah, he's with his last dying breath, he's talking about the kingdom, and since he's the king of the kingdom, right? It makes sense.
Yeah.
So to me, this is a powerful message. The enemy has tried to suppress systematically and coordinated suppression of this message for a long time, which is why, in our understanding, they don't want you to know where you live. They don't want you to know the creation model that the Father made, because that tells you where the kingdom is as well, and why it's coming down, and why it explains so much. It really does.
Makes
So yeah,
it all
I'm just
so real. But for me, to live is Christ, and to die is gain.
that's right.
Philippians 1:21.
So Ken, you've put together what, 4 albums now? Is that right?
4 albums under the moniker of Mountains into the Sea. Yes, I used to be in other bands too, and we made music and recorded music stuff too. But yeah,
Oh wow.
Were you the singer of any of those other bands?
I was. Yeah,
Very cool.
We'll have to dig those up somehow,
Yeah,
somewhere.
one day.
they're in the annals, long gone. I don't know if I want to resurrect those. But
So you put out an album called Things Dimly, right?
that's right, I did.
And that was about what, 5-6 years ago.
2016. Yeah.
2016 is a great album, and if you guys don't mind, I just want to highlight for the audience one of those songs that because I think it's amazing. It's one of my favorite songs from that album. It's called "Before the Silver Cord is Severed." And so, would you like to set us up a little bit with an idea of what this title means and what this song might be about?
Yeah, I pulled it from the wisdom of Solomon, not the book, but Solomon and his wisdom, right? Talking
right.
about the silver cord severed. I don't have the lyrics in front of me, and it's been a while, Sean, but it's basically just expressing, to keep the commandments, and it's our full duty is to, obey the Father and do His covenant
Before you die.
terms before you die. Yeah, exactly.
That's great. Yeah.
Silver cord is your life. Got it.
Yep. Yeah, and there's actually there's kind of a theory based on 2 passages, not a lot, just 2 passages about this idea that when you die, there's a few days before that quote unquote silver cord is actually severed, and you're permanently in Sheol, cannot be resurrected, right back to your mortal body, because your body starts to decay already at that point.
Yeah.
So this is why it's just, this is why some people would say some of the resurrections you see in Scripture, they hadn't been dead very long, like with Lazarus. It was only 3 or 4 days. His body hadn't decayed yet, especially if they went through the same practice in that culture and that custom of time that they exemplified with Yeshua. They would embalm him and wrap him. It would preserve the body longer than just 3 or 4 days. So, but basically that's kind of the idea. And once your body decays, then to resurrect somebody requires God's power. The first resurrection, which is He has to make that body again, right? So this is the beautiful part of at the resurrection that He promises us. You don't get your dirt body back. You get this new wonderful body made of water and spirit that will live forever, an immortal body, as First Enoch references. So this is a beautiful song, guys, and I hope you're blessed by it as much as I am.
Check it out.
The seas have lifted up. The seas lift up their voice. Mightier than thunder, they proclaim
Beautiful, beautiful song, brother. Incredible. You
Yeah,
really
it's-
have
Thanks, man.
just a hypnotic melody in there that in a good way that's just like soothing and tranquil and just so easy to listen to and vibe to. Like I'll turn on your music when I'm in the shower, about to go to sleep, anytime. Just jamming it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
that's actually why I put a clip of that song. And I don't know if you guys remember this or not. When we were just starting the show, we were just starting to promote this show. I put this little clip of that song together. Yeah, because I thought it was just perfectly beautiful for the visuals. And but anyway, it's wonderful, wonderful music, brother.
It really is.
Thank you, man.
You have such your voice is just, it uniquely resonates over the recording equipment in a way that you wouldn't expect, and you have your production quality down to where you just are able to harmonize so well. And I noticed too, that's something I wish I could do, is be able to sing with myself to where it harmonizes and be able to match those notes at a certain octave away or key away to where it just works well together. You got that mastered.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. It's funny because as I write music, which is usually every couple years, like I said, the first album that I put out was June 2014, then 2016, then 2018, and then this Fallen Man, this recent one, 2021. I don't go to churches. I don't sing in the choir. I don't really sing a whole heck of a lot, other than just like when I'm in my car or in the shower or something like that too. And I don't really sing much. So I think my voice has kind of just like weakened as the albums kind of go on. Like even just for this Fallen Man album, I had to like get back into like a week of just singing more consistently, just like making myself sing more, right? To get that phlegm out and to get that the lungs kind of expanding properly, because I don't do it enough. And I miss it. I wish I could do it a lot more than I do. But yeah, I just this Fallen Man album took me a little longer to record the lyrics, just because I haven't sung like this in years. So and as you get older, I think it
It's like a muscle.
you have to work it out more.
You don't want it to atrophy. Yeah
Exactly. So yeah, thanks for that, man. I appreciate it. That was that album was a time in my life when I was really just loving the Father's Torah. I was getting more and more involved in understanding His commandments and the applicability of the law of God in my life, and the need to do that as a disciple of Yeshua and as a son of God. Doing my Father's instructions as He's created us to do. And so I wanted to express that more in the lyrical content. And, it's more of a heartfelt cry to the Father of how amazing He is, and how like I am going to advance in my years, and, just please like blot out my pride and my heart, rescue me from my heart, right? Jeremiah 17:9, where it's like the heart is, deceitful and who can know it, right? And I need that new heart. That new heart that the Father says He's going to provide me at the resurrection, where He's going to emblazon His law onto it, and I can do those instructions and that behavior perfectly and in a way that pleases Him and will please me, because I'm pleasing my Father. It's like a thing in tandem. So
hallelujah.
Yeah.
Which came first, your fuller understanding of Torah and its applicability, or biblical creation model?
The Torah
came first. Interesting.
Yeah.
And how many years after would you say? Because I think you said it was around 2012, 2014 where Torah became.
2012 is where I really started to look into it. Like, I mean, shout out to brother Rob Skiba. If you come across this video and you're watching it, kudos to you, brother. You had such a huge impact on my life. It started with Nephilim, actually. Back, one of my uncles was always someone who was, he would come to the family gatherings and he'd be like, "Hey, you guys know about the Nephilim?" And everyone would be like, "Be quiet. What are you talking about giants for?" Right? He'd be like, No, it's in the Bible. And he would say those little things, and the rest of the family would just shut him up, right? But he gave me a CD of Chuck Missler's expositions, and he's like, Ken, I think you'd be interested in this. It's really neat.
The
I was sitting at
OG.
home. Yeah, this was back in like 2008 or something like that. And I listened to him and I was obsessed. I was completely obsessed. I was like, oh my gosh, there were giants in the Bible. You know, these things called the Nephilim. And then that naturally led me to Rob Skiba's content. And then he got on the whole, you know, Law of God Torah kick, right? And yeah, it just like I was like, okay, I'll look into it too. And I watched the 119 ministry videos and all that. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a huge component piece of this life that I should be living, right? So yeah.
It have you guys ever noticed that as you've been studying this idea that, unfortunately, that's why we always talk about defining the word Torah, because people use it so far out of context and they abuse the use of that word in their language, and they don't realize that it just means discipleship. It's literally just you as a believer trying to practice the behavior of the Father and the Son. It's really that simple. And those are eternal instructions. They can never go away because it's literally the consistent behavior of the Father and the Son. It's how the Creator made us to behave. And so, like, I've noticed in my life, you guys can tell me how you feel. I've noticed in my life, when I don't do the Father's behavior, my life becomes super stressed. Like I feel like an internal weight on my conscience, on my mind, on my heart that I can't get rid of. And I'm not just talking about keeping Sabbath. I'm not talking about physical rest. I'm talking about like that internal anxiety and stress. You know what I mean? And that's where it's just been such a relief as I grew, because I remember, you know, for much of my Christian walk, I've been a believer for over 20 years. And for like the first 10 years or more, I didn't understand the fullness of discipleship. I didn't understand, like, there was, like, he actually wrote down all these specific detailed instructions. If I start practicing these things, that's how I live righteously. That's how I live like Jesus did. You know, I didn't understand it was that easy. I thought, like, oh, you know, I was taught these churches, I got to be led by the Spirit, and that never got a definition of what that was. Never got a good example of what that was. It was just like, oh, well, what's the Spirit saying to you today? And I'm like, I don't know. Wear a red shirt. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what that means. I don't know. Don't eat at Chick-fil-A today. I don't know. Like, so, like, there's just all these different things that I was trying to sort through in my walk as a young believer, until I realized it's really very simple. He wrote it all down for you. Like, you buy a car, there's an instruction manual. You buy, you know, an IKEA bookshelf, there's an instruction manual how to put together. You know, every other thing you get in life, usually there's some sort of basic instruction manual. And for some weird reason, religion had told me that I should ignore the instruction manual, except for when I want to quote it in certain areas. Yeah. And then I can just be led by the Spirit. And unfortunately, it was not what the Bible teaches. Like, I need to know what His Word says first. And when I started doing that, like, that internal anxiety just started going away. And I was just like, oh, like, this is what it means to be high in the Spirit.
It's almost like there's a built-in curse for disobeying and a built-in blessing for
that's
obeying.
Right. Yeah, it's what, you know, exactly. Paul refers to in Colossians about your conscience being seared. You know, but I thankfully didn't persist in that behavior that was slowly searing my conscience. I was trying to be like, all right, well, I'm going to start practicing this different behavior, and it's going to go well with me, right? It's going to be good. I'm going to feel joy. I'm going to feel love.
There it is.
Yeah.
You know, so.
No, I remember the first day where it really, really clued in. Like, I watched several presentations. It was 119 Ministries. I think it was the Pauline series or something like that. It's been many years. Like, I sorry if I'm butchering.
Pauline Paradox. Yeah,
that's it. Pauline Paradox. And it dawned on me. I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is huge. Like, I've never heard this in church. Never heard this anywhere else. Like, is this true? Like, is this honestly like what we should be doing too? And it was, from there on in, it was like I was obsessed. I had to know what was applicable to me, what wasn't, and how the Father's law, is eternal, and it's not just for the Jews, and it's for the entirety of humanity who wants to be in covenant with it. Like, it's just, I ran with that so hard. I loved it so much, and I still do. Like, don't get me wrong, I still do. It's just that was the biggest awakening for me. That was bigger than even biblical cosmology. Yeah, for me, it was just like, oh my gosh, I've been doing so many things wrong in this entire life of mine. I want to do it right, so let's get doing it right.
Exactly. That was one of the topics. That was the topic that led me to Sean's channel, which then led me to your channel, was looking into what Paul was saying about the law, because so many people were telling me, well, Paul says right here that we don't have to keep that anymore. When, I was like, hold on, he says some other things that don't exactly line up with that train of thought. And so I was turned to Sean's videos on like Galatians and stuff.
Good old Paul, eh? I mean, that's Sean. You've got some amazing video content on Paul, and I'm actually looking forward to you and Matthew Jansen
Me
getting
too.
together and hitting up his epistles, because that's, man, there's still, even in our Torah community, the faith-based community that calls itself kind of Torah based, they're still not understanding Paul. Unfortunately, they get some of it for sure, but there's other aspects of Paul that is in and out. All right, so
Yeah, this is why I try to as gently and lovingly as possible communicate to folks who take Paul out of context or twist his words to say something that doesn't, even amongst different types of faith-based communities that do understand, all right, God's law is righteous and eternal. It's his literal behavior. It's what Jesus did. It's why Jesus was called sinless, because he did the Father's behavior. And even, like you said, even amongst certain communities that believe that the general concept, they still get tripped up by this Paul character and some of his writings, because I just try to remind them with as much humility as possible, because this statement can come across kind of brash to some people, right? But I try to just say as lovingly as possible, guys, the reason you'd misunderstand Paul is because you have not spent enough time in the front of the book.
Mm-hmm.
If you continue to study the front of the book to understand what Paul, his foundation was, then his words and his little quick references to this and that, and like in the way he does different types of similes, metaphors, allegories, like you'll start to see, oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, he's just talking real fast. That's all it is. He's talking to an audience he taught the Old Testament, and he's assuming they know what he's talking about. It's like you walking into chemistry 104 or chemistry 401, I should say, like fourth year chemistry, and you didn't take the first 3 years of chemistry, so therefore you don't understand a thing's being said. Yeah, and that's Paul is assuming the people he's writing these epistles to, he already taught them the first 3 years of Torah, right? They already know, what I mean? Yeah. So that's kind of a unique social paradigm that we face in the modern day, where believers just want to jump into his letters, but they haven't jumped in the front of the book, and then therefore Paul's going to confuse them.
Yeah, so, 100%.
Loving reminder, if these topics are new to you, when the letter to Galatians, Ephesians, Colossians were written, Paul wasn't teaching out of Acts or Galatians or any of these other books that hadn't been written yet, because all they had access to at that time was the law and the prophets, the Torah, the writings that we call the Old Testament.
Yeah. So like, why would Paul continually start referencing the Old Testament if he truly was teaching the same people? It's not applicable to you anymore. Like, he wouldn't keep going back to it and saying like, all right, this is like, he would teach them something completely different and be referencing those books. Like, see what I'm saying? It's just
divided cannot stand. So the Bible is one consistent message.
Yeah. It's cognitive dissonance, right? I mean, it's, unfortunately, we all have dealt with it and deal with it. And when you learn how to do proper reading comprehension, and as you would any other book, you start at the beginning. You're going to start at the very beginning. And unfortunately, we're playing with, a messed up deck, if I could say it that way, because there's books that have been removed that would help you immensely in your comprehension. That Sean and I have dedicated a show towards getting brothers and sisters looking into, right? Like our Honor of Kings series.
That's right. Honor of Kings on the first 2 seasons on Kingdom and Context. If you check out in the playlist, otherwise season 3 in its totality is, so far the episodes that have been recorded are over on Hanging on His Words. I would highly recommend those series. I've spent hours and hours watching and rewatching those, enjoying them and gleaning from them so very much. Very edifying.
Yeah, it's been fun. And we're going to get back into that, Sean. Yeah, you definitely will. If you've got the time, I know you're doing a bunch of shows. You're spreading yourself thin, like what is his name? Bilbo says, right? Like too little butter spread over too much bread.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, I've gotten to my this new show that we're gonna do with Matthew. I told him from the beginning. I said, hey, this doesn't have to be a weekly commitment. You and I both have things that may come up. It's fine. We can be relaxed about it. So we're just gonna hit it every Saturday as we're available, and then. Just if we need to, because he knows I have other obligations like you're talking about. He knows I got other shows that we're committed to and everything. So yeah, it'll be fine. But ultimately, I'm just trying to get this Babylon series finished before the end of summer, and then that way I can start getting back to other types of more relaxed content. Let me say it like this: easier to produce content on my Kingdom Cast channel, and then and that way we can and of course we got this, but this show actually takes Wes and I a decent amount of research and work, and like this is not one that we just throw together in a day. Like we're talking and all week, sometimes 2 weeks in advance about what we're going to do, what clips we're going to use, how we're going to approach this, what topic specifically, and what offshoots of that topic, And so, yeah, this is a work in itself.
Ken, I'm sure you can relate when you're making your production videos that you do. Like when I just make a 60-second teaser for the next episode, like we'll play here before the end of the show, it takes me all night. Like I'll work all day on sometimes a 60-second clip. It's wild.
No, I know. When I watched episode 1 that you guys put out, I was like, oh wow, okay, they're like putting some serious work into this, because I know how much effort it takes to make something look as snazzy as what you have with the visuals and the sounds and just the overall production itself.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
and I do all that from my phone, by the way.
That's impressive, man. Really impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah. So speaking of though, I think before we get to next week's teaser, that I just want to we wanted to get to Feeding on Fables, right? Because that was from your latest album release, and this one is the last track on this album. And I'm guessing you saved the best for last because this is a banger. This is a great track.
Yeah, it's a heavier song, but it still, hits those lyrics hard with that important message. And I think the overall kind of feel for the lyrics in this song come from people kind of on shaky ground with their faith.
Yeah.
So like I start off with, have you joined the ranks of disbelief? And you're part of the picture, and yet your eyes won't see. It's just people who've, like, I've seen over the years kind of just go from questioning Paul to questioning the Yeshua to just like gone,
Yeah.
And everywhere in between with people, right? And so it's like, it's more aimed at those people. It's like, don't you realize that you're an immortal and a priest proleptically? You're all these things. Like, you got these promises attached to you. Just unfortunately, the world's indoctrinating you, and you're feeding on fables and vain philosophies. Like, you got to get out of that and rewire your mind to look at the bigger message, right?
That's right.
I'm reminded of Jeremiah where he says, "Surely our fathers have inherited lies."
Yeah.
Exactly. Absolutely. Good premise for a song, for sure.
Yeah, actually, what is that? I can't remember that address of that verse.
Oh, I got it right here because I have memes, So I just I photographically memorize the picture that I've attached to the verse, and that helps me memorize this.
Here it is. Okay, I found it. So it's in Jeremiah 16. Even though it's verse 19, I'm going to put the context on the screen because, guys, it's about the day of the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
How interesting, right? So verse 14 says, "Yet behold, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when they no longer say, as surely as the Lord lives, who brought the Israelites up out of the land of Egypt. Instead, they'll say, as surely as the Lord lives, who brought the Israelites up out of the land of the north and all the other lands to which he had banished them. For I will return them to their land I gave their forefathers." I don't know about you guys, but to me, this is the first resurrection.
Yeah.
From everywhere you're gathered under the firmament where you've been scattered. Deuteronomy 30 verse 4. And verse 16 he goes on to say, "But for now I will send for many fishermen, declares the Lord, and they will catch them. And after that I will send for many hunters, and they will hunt them down on every mountain and hill, even from the clefts of the rocks." Right? The fishermen grab the first resurrected, the hunters take care of the bad guys,
the tares,
the tares, the wicked of the earth. Verse 17 says, "For my eyes are on all their ways, they are not hidden from my face, their guilt is not concealed from my eyes. I will first repay them double for their iniquity and their sin, because they defiled my land with the carcasses of their detestable idols, and they've filled my inheritance with their abominations. O Lord, my strength and my fortress, my refuge in the day of distress, the nations will come to you from the ends of the earth." This is the nations will come from the ends of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
To who? To the Lord. Who's that? What is? How does that play out? That's Yeshua come down with New Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew 25:31. He gathers all the nations to him to stand judgment over him. He says, "And they will say, our fathers inherited nothing but lies, worthless idols of no benefit at all. Can man make gods for himself? Sure, such are not gods." So there's this unique moment of like worldwide repentance, specifically based off of what we've been talking about, where the culture that we live in today is filled with lies, absolutely filled with lies,
permeated,
vain philosophies and fables. And to weed through that deception is part of our discipleship, where we get the truth, the word of truth, and we're washed with the water of the word of truth, like Ephesians 5 talks about. One of my favorite parts in 1 Peter 1, verses 1-3, where Peter reminds people that you need to be growing in the knowledge of God. And when you do that, you start to see through the lies of the world, right? And that's where I guess that would be my heart, and that's why I love your music, Kim, because it also portrays that exact message. And so this song is a great example of that.
Very well, yes,
thanks,
sir.
man. And that's the challenging part of our walk, right? Is the adversary and everything that he has at his disposal in order to completely convince people that Yahweh isn't real. There's nothing. You're meaningless. You're just, when you die, you're gone. Who cares? Just do whatever you want on this earth. So we have to combat that on top of trying to like squeeze in the message of the reversal of that, which is there is a good God. He loves you. He can give you eternal life his way, like all this stuff. And just makes it challenging, but it's, we're up for the challenge, right, brothers?
That's
Amen.
right. That's right. So I'm going to cue this up because I think the audience will love this.
Me too.
Have you joined the ranks of disbelief? You're part of the picture, and yet your eyes won't see. We all feel the weight of society. We've been conditioned to lose our legacy. You're a conqueror, an immortal, and a beast. You are everything that you stand for in this life of melody. There's a kingdom that is coming with the king, and it's everything we can hope for. You skim the pages of history. Did you find your purpose, or have you lost it in the waves? We all see the earth in calamity. Stop feeding on fables and vain philosophies. You're a conqueror, an immortal, and a priest. You are everything that you stand for in this life of melody. There's a warrior that is coming like a thief. He's everything this world needs. When Mount Zion rests upon our level plain, then the law of God will go forth unrestrained, and every nation will come to hear it get explained. They'll know more, they'll want more. When Yahweh comes, we'll breathe the sweetest, freshest air in his land of 1,500 miles square. Everyone will leave their swords into plowshares. They'll want more, they'll live for more. God's kingdom will come. God's will be done on the earth. This very
Yeah, that's
Hey,
a good one.
That one gets me hype. The drums on that are incredible.
Yeah, Jared Easterling, that guy's a phenom.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
strong.
This song, when I wrote it, I was like, okay, I gotta end I like to loop things. So as Sean pointed out in the review, I did want to kind of bring it back to the beginning of the album, in which I had like this really
Forerunner.
brief Forerunner song
Mhm.
about Yahweh coming down, right? And when I wrote this song, I was like, I would love for this to be like a battle cry feel to it, right? If I'm like a UFC fighter, and I believe in God, and I want to walk out, they have those little walkout tunes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I got to create something that I would want to walk out to, right? Like have a good message and a good feel and just get me kind of amped up.
That embodies that. You did that right there.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I love it because you're actually, it is a cry that we see in scripture from Isaiah. It's Isaiah 64:1. If only you would rend the heavens and come down, so the mountains would quake at your presence. And this is kind of, I mean, you didn't exactly parrot this verse, but you obviously you're singing Father Come Down. It's the same idea. Just like we see in First Enoch chapter 1. And you also mentioned your lyrics a little bit earlier in the song where you talked about, Zion coming down on a level plain. And that's why the mountains quake at his presence when he returns, because where the New Jerusalem is going to sit down, it has to be leveled out, just like any building that is placed on a foundation. That foundation has to be completely level. So you're going to have a 1,500-mile area between the Euphrates and the Nile, 1,500 square miles, that is going to be completely leveled out when the Son of Man returns, so that the New Jerusalem can come and safely sit down with its amazing foundations and incredible walls and gates and interior, water of life from the river of life, the trees of life, 7 mountains that is described in 1 Enoch 25, where Yeshua's throne is at the top. All this wonderful stuff of the New Jerusalem that has to have a flat, strong foundation for it to sit down on. And that is the preparing process that the Father does with his angels when he returns, so that it and just that alone is going to be something no one's ever seen before.
Yeah.
Just the preparing part, because then after they flatten it out, they're going to burn all of it with fire. So this is simultaneously while people are fighting him because they're retarded. So this is yeah, it's going to be an amazing series of events.
That was one of my favorite moments in the song, where you said, a land that's 1,500 miles squared, and then you said, what were the exact lyrics? They turn their swords into plowshares.
Everyone will beat their swords into plowshares.
There it is.
Yeah.
Amazing. Very well. And
I mean, it's amazing because it's true, right? It's for a lot of people. It's hard to let that sink in, but this is a coming reality that's been spoken about from the beginning, that Yahweh started to communicate with us, right, with mankind. I'm coming, but all in due time, right? And that's the thing. Like, I can cry, Father, come down with your kingdom, please, rend the heavens, right? Just come. But there's a set amount of people that he needs to be part of this family, and they have to come into existence. So all in time. And we pray and we hope for that day, that glorious day where us brothers can be united together, all under the same roof, because we're gonna be a family, and we get to love our Father all the more, and in a way that was always meant for us, in a mortal body, and we can do it forever. So
a great and terrible day, right? Another one of my favorite songs of yours.
Yeah, that's great as well from New Cloth. In fact, it's gonna be interesting in the kingdom when we're all resurrected. It makes me wonder, like, I wonder if any of us will get resurrected into the same tribe, and what land is apportioned to us, and what, Ken, will you be in the same tribe, or will you be like 2 tribes over, and I'm just gonna fly like an angel over there to go visit for a day or whatever? It's just gonna be just to think about some of the practical logistical realities of what's promised to us. And then you see it expounded upon everywhere in Scripture. The part I just mentioned, by the way, in case the audience is wondering, is in Ezekiel chapter 47 and 48. Gives you this breakdown of the interior tribes and how they'll be situated next to each other after the resurrection within the New Jerusalem. So it's a beautiful, beautiful breakdown.
So I've heard their habitations, right? He sees all the houses and
paradise. Yeah, I've heard it suggested before, and I don't know the scripture reference they used, but they said that it seemed to suggest that if you're not a natural branch, then you're grafted into Joseph, Ephraim, or
that's going to be a big tribe then.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying, though. And then I've heard other people suggest that depending on what quote unquote constellation of the Mazzaroth you were born under, that could have something to do with it. I've even seen Chuck Missler discuss how the signs of the so-called zodiac related to the Mazzaroth were, represented by the symbols that they carried on their banners.
Interesting.
Yeah, haven't heard that? No.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, Chuck Missler.
But yeah, that's something I've never seen explicitly detailed in the scriptures. Is, like if you're grafted in, and not a natural born, then what tribe are you grafted into? I think what is it, Leviticus 25:19 or something like that. We talked about the Egyptian man who starts causing problems. He was grafted. He was with the Israelites when they came out of Israel, and he's grafted in, but he was still referred to as the Egyptian man. But he was the husband of one of the other people in the tribe. So I guess he was just a part of that tribe because he married that lady from that tribe.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, the question comes back, since we're not marrying at the resurrection, how does the Father determine which tribe we get into? Who knows? But I'm sure he'll do it right.
I've wondered.
Exactly.
I have wondered that very question, Sean. How he's going to do it? Like, you look like a Danite to me.
Right.
You have their characteristics of a Danite. So let's bring you over there. But my wife has always wanted to know, because she's a huge hiker and like she loves traveling, right? Which is why this demic is really crushing her, because she loves to explore the world. She just wants to know, like, are we gonna be allowed to like hike around the world outside of the New Jerusalem? Like, are we gonna? Am I gonna get tired? Am I gonna be able to climb a mountain, be physically fatigued, or because I'm an immortal, daughter of Christ, do I just not like? Am I gonna be fine? Like, how's that all gonna work?
We'll dwell in the heights. I know.
Yeah,
we'll be able to fly around it.
Yeah,
we got bodies capable of ascending above the firmament.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So Psalm 15:1 depends on the translation, but it still communicates the same thing. Who may abide in your tent? Who may dwell on your holy mountain? So from everything I've read about the New Jerusalem, there's a ton of mountains inside of there. There's big, massive mountains, ranges. Like there's apparently a huge mountain range that specifically that leads up to the throne. And that's what I think this is getting to, is that only the resurrected can actually live there and actually ascend his holy hill, as it talks about later in the chapter. And that's because you can at that point. So to me, that's beautiful. It's like, will that be type of pilgrimage, right? That we get to present ourselves 3 times a year to the Father at the feasts, literally before the throne of Yeshua at the top of this amazing mountain inside this city that's 1,500 square miles tall. So that seems like a wonderful hike.
And will there be any mortals attempting to climb that?
I think
Mount
that's
Everest style, just like, I want to get to the top. Sorry, buddy, get back down there. That's for us immortals.
It's a 1,000-mile mountain. I don't know, bro. Like,
yeah,
let me fly you up there.
I think that's why the rest of the chapter talks about alludes to those who've been resurrected, in my understanding. Yeah, because you have to be resurrected with a different type of body in order to get that high. But it's okay, because at the gates is where the Gentiles, where everybody else, the normal people, would bring to interact with the priests for feast days and come into the gates. So you'll have the entire perimeter of the New Jerusalem filled with activity at those times as well. So
it's beautiful. It's awesome.
Fellas, I know we're coming up on our time, and for the people that wish they had more time here to hang out with you and get to know you better, Ken, I know I wish I did. I got a little quick lightning round for you. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Just some quick questions, and you can spend as much time as you want to answering them, but some of them are real direct. So what is your favorite color? Let's start off with.
Oh man, people are probably going to judge me on this one, but I like the shades. I like gray.
Gray?
I'm a gray guy. Like, yeah. I mean, if I have to pick an actual, like, probably blue.
No, right on.
But gray, everything's gray in my life. I don't know if
Grays and blues.
reflects my personality and my
color of your eyes. What about your favorite, like, food? What's your favorite dinner to eat?
Man, hands down pizza. I love a nice stone fired pizza, and tacos. Tacos is a quick a second.
Tacos are great.
Right there with you. Yes, sir. Yep. Cool. Okay. So then what is like your favorite candy bar that you might ever get?
Yeah. So if I was on an island and I had one choice, it would be turtles.
Turtles. That might be a Canadian local.
I think that is.
You guys are not turtles?
No.
Oh man.
Are those like Peeps? Are those
Turtle
little bitty candy?
Turtle doves?
They're like milk chocolate, encased milk chocolate inside of a like a crunchy pecan. Is it a pecan? No. You can get my
nut, almond, or
I never heard of that.
Yeah, it's really caramel. It's really good.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Turtles. We'll have to check those out. Order those. What's your favorite band? Or if not, if you don't have one favorite, who's some bands that you would say have influenced you?
Well, it's funny. Watching Sean's review of my album on his channel, some of the audience members that were chiming in were like, this sounds a little more like it sounds like it's got some Jars of Clay influence and
Yeah.
Newsboys. I loved Me My Jars of Clay and My Newsboys, the early versions, right?
The
I
early
love
ones, yeah.
the
Pre
first
2000.
yeah. So yeah, they were huge and influence in my life. And probably right now though, and then in the last probably 10 years, I would say bands like My Epic and Copeland, lesser known bands. I don't like anything mainstream, to be honest. They're bands that people don't hear of because I don't like that sound, that main pop sound,
Yeah.
culture sound.
And that really feeds into, well, your particular style, because you have this very unique sound that I'm not familiar with because I don't listen to those or haven't heard of those bands. So
Yeah.
if they've influenced you in that way, then that makes a lot of sense.
Ken, have you ever listened to Charlie Hall? You ever heard of him?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
I'll look them up. Yeah.
That's all right.
I like my West Blaze music too, though. Don't get me wrong.
What would you say is your favorite West Blaze song?
I'm digging Thief in the Night.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Thank
like
you.
that one.
Thank you.
really do.
I made that
Yeah.
beat, and Mike put a lot of production into it, and I really
Yeah.
had fun with it. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
What about your favorite Uncommon Ground show? Have you had?
I think it was the Ancient Alien one.
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
one of my
Oh, yeah.
favorites too. Sean's
even-
presentation.
Yeah, that comes from Pieces of Your Babylon series, right, Sean? I mean, that is that is meat. You know, he has a milk and meat series on his. That is the meatiest stuff you can get, aside from just digging into the scriptures themselves. But like the whole Vamonis thing, like what these things are flying around and how they're actually like propelled properly, like all that research. I'm just like, this dude's on another level, just on a totally other level. So it was.
Well, it's crazy because there's so much information to sort through. So that took me, lots of time to sort through that info, but I have to give credit to the Father for leading me to the right clumps of information to sort through. Because like some of that stuff I found links to on forums from Indian sites from people that speak, Hindi, that are on sites in Indian with broken English. And I saw them reference something about ancient Omanas, and I go to a link and I look that up, so like that, to me, that kind of following that string of evidence to research that is only led by the Father, in my opinion, because there's so much to weed through with the different language barrier and cultures. And so, yeah, I appreciate you guys being encouraged by that, but that's definitely Father helped me put that together.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
Crazy relevant. It's just so like we are seeing it come more and more into the mainstream, even, right? Of this idea, this concept of we got to prepare for a potential alien invasion, and there's could be other life out there, and who knows if they're hostile or whatever else, right?
Yeah.
We had a former defense minister here in Canada. I think it was like must have been mid 2000s when he was our defense minister, talking about how the world, Canadians and the world in general, needs to know that they've been in contact with these spirit beings for years, and they've had like conferences with them, and they're among us now, and they're this and that, and like, why aren't we telling the general populace that they exist and they're among us?
I think I've seen them in my chat and some of my videos.
Yeah.
Being trolls.
Yeah, I was like, so they're definitely pumping this stuff out, right? I mean, they're prepping us to be ready for something which is, their version of it. We know what it is and what's coming, but it's just that was such a all your episodes are great, and if I'm going to be truthful, I haven't actually seen every single episode yet, guys.
That's all right.
It's okay.
I'm a bit behind on stuff. Big supporter, of course. I want to get to it, but yeah, that particular episode was like, yeah, that was bang on.
Cool. Okay, next question. How long have you been married?
My wife and I just celebrated our 7th. Last week. Yeah. So
very
we've been
blessed.
together 8.5 and married for 7 years, and it's been a challenge. It's been a very good challenge, right? I mean, she's stuck through a lot of things that I was researching, and she gave me the brow several times, and through it all, she's just very faithful and understands the
Firmament. What you said? Firmament.
Firmament. What is that?
Shout out Mrs. Heidebrecht. Thank you very much for letting Ken have the time to come do this with us. We
To
appreciate
bless the world with the gifts the Father's given him. Thank you so much, Miss Heidebrecht.
She has endured. She's endured, the Heidebrecht, and I love her for it. I really do. So yeah, 7 years.
Awesome.
Big shout out. That's what's up. Can you think of any lightning round questions, Sean?
Yeah. What's your ethnic background, brother? For those, are you as pasty white as I am?
I'm trying to like do some lighting here. My lighting game sucks. That's another thing I want to work on.
Because I got that European mixed in with my Native American, so
Yeah.
I got really white legs but dark hair. What's your cultural ethnic background you come from?
I'm Germanic.
Okay.
Yep, German. There's some Russian built into that too.
I can see it. All right.
Nice.
My
Nice.
father was born in Jordan.
Okay.
Oh, sweet.
I've never met him, but he was born in Jordan.
Okay.
Awesome.
I like to picture that, like my great grandfather, like 20 generations back, was there in the Jordan River when Yeshua was being baptized. That'd be cool.
Wow. Jordanites, aren't they from Ishmael?
That would make sense, seeing that he is Islamic. Or
I think-
am I making that connection correctly? I don't know.
No. I mean, there's a lot of but I'm just trying to remember my Genesis stuff. Anyway, it's not
Right.
important. All right, awesome. Awesome.
I don't have any more. I
It's going to
want
be
to.
spiritual biology.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all Israel, so we're all good with that.
Absolutely. I would just encourage everybody, definitely check out Ken's music. He's got Mountains into the Sea. That channel is filled with good stuff. He's got Hanging on His Words, where you're going to find so many good studies, so many good presentations where you can just sit down and soak up, watch them over and over again to really, get a grasp of everything that's being presented there, because he does such a thorough job, well presented. And I really appreciate and love the brother for everything he's done. So y'all check out his channels.
Thank you.
Yeah,
brother.
check out his
Appreciate
channels.
you.
Subscribe to both of them for sure. In fact, Ken, I just want to say thank you, publicly, even though I've thanked you privately, obviously, but just so everyone knows publicly, I want to thank you for letting me sample your music with some of my shows, because I've sampled quite a few. Morning Cup of Context, Tour Portions, Road to Rescue. We sampled one of your songs from New Cloth. So yeah, I just really appreciate it, brother. It's amazing music, and I just hope that more attention comes to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And absolutely, brother. I mean, you're my compadre. You're a good friend of mine, and of course I'm gonna let you use my stuff just like you would me, right? And same with you, Wes. I can't wait to get you on once I get back into the a more full-time, I guess, position of doing this. Get you on some True Sleuths. I know I kind of tickled your fancy. I don't know, whatever.
Sure. Yeah,
About
no,
that.
I'd be honored.
And, yeah.
My fancy is tickled properly. Thank you.
But yeah, you guys are a blessing. I love what you're doing. Keep doing it. And I mean, the Father will do the rest, right? You've got the heart and the skill to get that message out there, and you're doing well. You're doing very well. So
Likewise,
thank you
my
so much
friend.
for having me on. I appreciate
Let's
it.
do it some time together, and I look forward to it, brother. Look forward to hearing more music, and I especially look forward to getting the chance to collaborate with you, be thinking about it. And I know you just work so hard on some music, so take your break. But absolutely, if you ever have any kind of message in mind or a melody or anything that comes up, shoot me anything you got, and I'll work with you from there. We can collaborate.
I got one last question, one last lightning round question. Ken, artwork for your new album behind you. What's the inspiration on that? What's the idea on that?
So I reached out to a guy who does like this kind of like abstract stuff, and I liked his material, and I was just like, hey, like I'm working on an album, and I kind of want to have a play on words with the title track of Fallen Man. Can you do something with that? Make it kind of cool, catchy. Definitely not new agey or Illuminati, because I have a kind of a funny story. Maybe I'll tell it some other time with other artwork that I did on an album, my Things Dimly album. But I was like, please stay away from that stuff. And so he came up with this, and we tweaked it a little bit, and it's just, it's a guy falling out of a hat. I don't know. I've always, to me, when I used to buy CDs in the music store, I would skim through genres I was interested in, and whatever visual attracted to me, right? Whatever artwork jumped out, I was like, okay, they probably have a kind of a cool sound too. So I judged people off of their artwork, and I was like, I gotta have something that's unique, like that people would just be like, oh, that's interesting. What would that sound like? And then click on it, right?
Yeah.
So
as much as we're warned not to, we judge books by their cover all the time, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's wonderfully fitting as we segue into talking about our next episode next week, where we will talk about gravity or the lack thereof, and how we actually fall to the ground when that happens. Is it truly what we've been told with gravity, or is it something else that we can test and observe and demonstrate? So that's going to be next week's episode. And here's just a quick little teaser for everybody.
What is gravity?
I have no idea. Okay, next question. No, here's the difference. We can describe gravity. We can say what it does to other things. But when you start asking, like, what it is, I don't know.
Snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes gravity.
Have you ever wondered why we have heard about a force called gravity our entire lives, and yet nobody has ever been able to prove that it exists, even though untold numbers of experiments have been performed seeking its cause?
But if gravitons are everywhere, why can't we see them? Unfortunately, a single graviton is too measly to detect, so we had no evidence of them. But scientists made another assumption about the moment after the Big Bang.
Well, he just looked at me and said,
Don't believe in gravity. Don't believe in fantasies. Don't believe 'cause a theory's all it is. It's never been proven, but they teach it to the kids.
Yeah.
That last guy's hilarious. His music is just so awesome.
Alex
Yeah.
Michael, he does some good
That's
stuff.
great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Ken, I was telling Wes before the show that I actually rode a Gravitron 2 days ago.
Did you?
The spinning thing you saw in the episode teaser there. Yeah, we had our Jubilees days came through town. They have a little carnival and rodeo and things like that. And so Lindsay and I went down there and rode some rides and we rode the Ferris wheel and then we rode the Gravitron, and I got sick on the Gravitron because I was trying to like actually raise up, while the centripetal force is pushing against the wall, and I think that messed with my equilibrium in my head.
You were adding those G's
Yes,
by the pressure.
Our bodies are not that young anymore, Sean.
Man, I saw these kids on the wall being stuck to the wall around me, and they're just like raising up and grabbing the bar and everything. And I'm like, oh, I can do that. I'm like,
there's consequences to that.
yeah,
That's out.
yeah, I got that sick feeling, and I was messed up. We tried to ride some rides after that, and I had to bow out because I was so messed up. But yeah, we're gonna have a fun episode next week. So we really appreciate you coming on this week, brother, to help us to promote not only your music, but to promote the gospel of the kingdom, which 100% includes everything we talk about with cosmology on these episodes, and the scriptures that just with hundreds and hundreds of verses expound upon all the component pieces of our faith, leading to the consummation of the ages when Yeshua returns, our wonderful Savior and Redeemer, and how that actually happens. And for anyone watching, guys, go subscribe to Ken's music, listen to the lyrics, because he paints that same message in a wonderful poetic and lyrical vibe that will bless you. So
100%.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, sir.
Keep doing your thing.
yes.
Same to you. Let's do it together some more.
All right.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
I'm waiting to see you guys collab in the future. So that'll be
Boom.
great.
That'll be a great one. We don't have anything to end off on.
Yeah, sure. I bet. Oh, I can find something real quick.
Can you? I was going to recommend "Terribly Great Day," but
Mhm.
if you have something better,
Yeah.
let's ride out with one, because we always do. It's our tradition here.
Yeah.
Some traditions are okay, guys.
They've got to be. All right.
Oh, Ken, it's not up there anymore. Oh, wait a second.
If you go to my Bandcamp,
Hold on. I did a video where I baptized people, and I used that song as the background.
Nice.
Yeah, the baptism. It's right here. Sending it to you.
I was gonna say, because I've purchased your albums and downloaded them, so I've got them actually on file. And you want to do "Terribly Great Day"? I mean, I'll be honest, I love every single track on this one, but
Yeah.
so
I just
you
sent
actually
you
got
a
you
quick
got a video
video.
queued up? Okay,
Yeah.
1 second. Let me cue
And you
this
don't have
up.
to download it. You could just play it, right? Well,
Well, I know, but
you got that fast internet though, so it'll work.
it's the sound is just rough.
I agree. It can be. It's the
Wes,
chat.
that particular song, is that more up your alley in terms of genre? Like, you could work with that, eh?
All of them. Yeah. No, if there was a tempo to a song, I can definitely put something over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready.
I'm not gonna wait a couple years to get my next stuff out.
Okay,
I'm gonna be more consistent with it. I have to. I love it.
And we're having fun right now. Mike Maranatha, Jo, and Marlo and I, we're just kind of working on little songs here. We do want to put a project together, but like it doesn't, every time you make a song, it doesn't have to have a whole CD. You can definitely just do little singles here and there too.
I like the little EPs, like 3-song EPs.
Yeah. Word.
Yeah, I actually get the benefit of hearing some of the rough early tracks that Westplay's been putting together with Jo, Mike, and Marlo, and it's amazing stuff. So I'm sure the same would happen with you as well, Ken. So, all right, I got this queued up, guys. Thank you everyone for being here. Like, share, and subscribe. Check out our Patreon. Links are below. Ken, appreciate you, brother. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Ken. Much
Thanks
love
for having me. Love you guys.
Bless God and may He bless you, everyone. Shalom from under the 7 domes.
We say then, shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? God forbid. How shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein? Know ye not that so many of us as were baptized into Jesus Christ were baptized into his death? Therefore we are buried with him by baptism into death, that like as Christ was raised up from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we also should walk in newness of life.
It is spoken, I'll believe it. You will never lie to men. Even a wayward son can notice that his father's abode has fountains, living waters. You've concealed them and prepared them for your kin. Until the kingdom comes and his will is done, our earth will thirst for heaven. Your day it comes. Yes, it's swifter than the wind. The sheer force of it will bend the knees of men. Your day it comes. When the mountains melt like wax before your face, will undergo the promised change. It draws closer, I discern it. Your servants say it soon. Surely salvation is placed in our God, within his garden of many rooms. Holy city, please reveal her. Raise us up out of the pit. Supply our hearts with flesh and place us instead into the land of your promises. Your day it comes.